Hey guys, so here's my presentation for Cindy's research project for this class. I did it over the news and how um, Facebook and Twitter has affected the way that information is shared on each platform and whether they tend to share different kinds of content or topics or like breaking news on a certain platform as opposed to another. So here we go. So, like I said, my project was on how social media has reshaped the way newsrooms share information. So, the rapid adoption of social media networking sites as an information source over the past few years has completely transformed the way individuals consume news. I know that a lot of the information I get is from Twitter and from Facebook. I work in the daytime and then I go to school at night, so I'm missing the news, the regular news on the TV. So, that's kind of the way I stay informed. So, I thought this was kind of an important study and just interesting to look at. Um, research done by Pew Research found that internet has surpassed newspaper in popularity as a news platform, and that was in 2010. So obviously that has only probably increased. 37% of internet users disseminate news content by posting on social media sites. So a lot of people just share the news that they see through their social media accounts. And one of the most common trends found in media organizations has been the adoption of social media accounts as a way to route users to their websites. So New York Times kind of does that a lot. They do like a little excerpt and then they do the link so that it kind of pulls you in so that you can read the full article and then maybe look at some other articles on that website. And obviously news has always been a one-way sender-receiver process until social media, which has now changed the process and made it a two-way communication. So the purpose of this study was to look at postings of two of the most popular social media sites, Twitter and Facebook, of two local news organizations. So in a content analysis of 356 posts, the study examines if and how content differs between these two platforms. By studying whether the content on each platform is different, it will help in determining how each organization has utilized and adopted the social media site to disperse news, as well as identify a possible trend in the way news is shared to consumers. So next is the lit review. So Twitter's effect on news. So one of the biggest draws of Twitter for journalists has been the timeliness and briefness of information sharing. They're able to use it as a way to minimize the requirement of time and thought investment consumers have to invest in their articles. So I know that if an article is really long, I usually don't read it or I just skim over it for the key points. So Twitter kind of just is very brief and gives you the information that you need and gets straight to the point. So a lot of people like that who are busy and just want to keep up to date. In a prior study, researchers found that individuals use Twitter for four main reasons, which is daily chatter, conversation, sharing information, and reporting news. A similar study found that Twitter users are 2 to 3 times more likely to visit a news website than any average person, which is awesome, and it kind of shows how beneficial using Twitter can be for a news organization. However, some critics are uneasy about online journalism, finding it untrustworthy due to its emphasis on speed rather than getting information right. And that actually came from an article from one of the professors here at Texas State. So Facebook's effect on news. Facebook has been at the forefront of creating an online environment of content sharing among friends that has enabled news companies to expand their audience reach, sustainability, and increase traffic to their websites. So I know most of you, when you get on your Facebook timeline, there's a bunch of news articles that are being shared by your friends, especially during this last election. I felt like my news feed was just constantly full of like people sharing articles, and so Facebook was kind of at the forefront of all of that, of spreading news, and whether that was a good or bad thing, it still was a huge component in the last election, and it remains a huge component in how we share news. Facebook also drove up traffic to news sites by 20%, with these numbers only increasing when individuals were on a mobile device. 30% of adults in the United States reported getting their news from Facebook, according to a survey conducted by the Pew Research Center, which that was in 2014, so that has probably increased as well. Many journalists use Facebook as an important source for website referrals, like I've talked about before, but the users who usually arrive on Facebook this way, or arrive via Facebook, onto these websites usually do spend less time and consume far fewer pages than those who organically land on the site, which makes sense if you think about it, because the people who go through Facebook are usually going for that one thing, whereas if you're just landing on a website, if you're going to a website, you're usually looking for different things. So my research questions were, is the content topic shared by news organizations on Twitter and Facebook similar or different? Is the content type shared by news organizations on Twitter and Facebook similar or different? And do news organizations use Twitter more for late-breaking news than Facebook? So the method I used, so for my procedures and coding practices, the study used 2 of the highest-ranking news organizations in San Antonio, KSAT 12 and KINS 5, to conduct a content analysis. And I know a lot of y'all are from Austin, but I went to school in San Antonio, so I'm more familiar with these news organizations, so that's why I chose San Antonio. Facebook and Twitter posts were collected over a 2-day period for each organization, November 25th through November 26th, to be coded for this study. A total of 356 posts were coded. We implemented a codebook developed by Jennifer Brannick Cox from a similar study done over national news organizations. And the 3 variables being analyzed in each post were story topic, story type, and timeliness. So the results for my study came back. So for research question 1, there was some significant differences in the content topic across social media platforms in certain topic areas. For example, there was significantly more lifestyle articles on Facebook as opposed to Twitter articles, lifestyle articles on Twitter. Posts about entertainment was slightly more frequently on Twitter than on Facebook, but the amount of posts of law and crime were consistent across platforms, which was the most shared content topic on all platforms. And when evaluating the content shared from each news organizations, there were some differences as well. For example, KINS 5 reported on considerably more sports events than KSAT 12. Sorry guys, I'm a little sick. Research question 2, is the content type shared by news organizations on Twitter and Facebook similar or different? So after assessing the content produced over the 2-day time frame, it was clear that news organizations preferred one platform over the other for only certain content types. For instance, helpfulness articles were much more prominent on Facebook than on Twitter. KSAT 12 posted 23 helpfulness articles and columns to their Facebook accounts and only 9 on their Twitter. And KINS 5 posted 23 to Facebook as opposed to 11 on Twitter. Researchers found that both hard news and soft news was pretty consistent across both platforms on their frequency. The use of editorial opinion and critique articles were not prominent on any platform for either news organization. So I saw like 1 or 2 maybe for each news organization. Sorry. However, KINS 5 did utilize crowdsourcing in some of their posts, but only on posted Facebook. So for RQ 3, do news organizations use Twitter more for late-breaking news than Facebook? The researchers I found that both KSAT 12 and KINS 5 posted more breaking news to their Facebook accounts than their Twitter accounts. Additionally, we found that the spot news is significantly more likely to be posted on Facebook as opposed to Twitter. As you can see, 47 to 13, which is pretty significant. So my discussion and conclusion. So my key takeaways from this study was, although much of the content analyzed was similar on both platforms, the study was able to decipher certain key trends in the way each platform is used to share news stories and information. So I think this is important so that news organizations can tell that, or you can differentiate between the content that is shared on different platforms, and kind of maybe that is because of the demographics on each platform. So some of the limitations for this study were the short time frame in which the content was coded. So it was only coded in a 2-day time frame, so that's kind of short. So that kind of it is. The organizations chosen were local news organizations, therefore they're not representative of news organizations as a whole or across or nationally. A sample of posts were taken during a holiday weekend. Therefore, many of the posts were covered holiday-related events. So, Black Friday was included in that, and so there was a lot of posts about Black Friday shopping. So, future research could look into investigating why news organizations post particular content on Twitter and Facebook, and a study on where consumers go to look for certain news information and whether they prefer a certain social media platform for that kind of information. So thanks for listening to my research project, and have a wonderful Christmas break.